Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Kay Unscripted and I am your host Kay. Today we're going to be discussing Love is Blind Season 8 episodes 3 and 4. Since there's not too much happening in these next few episodes, I'm just going to join them together. And so today I'm going to be doing episodes 3 and 4, and then I will also do episodes 5 and 6. Now this is a moment where I just take some time to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for coming back to my videos, and if you haven't already, go ahead and click the subscribe button, like my videos, comment below, let's talk about it, let's discuss your opinions, and don't forget to share it with a friend. Episode 3 is called Hunger Games of Love. We left off from episode 2 and we begin episode 3 seeing Monica and Joey preparing to meet each other, and let me tell you, that was the most awkward meeting I have ever seen. I don't know, for me, Joey is just a little bit weird, his voice sounds weird, she's a little bit weird too, so I guess they're a match made in heaven. I don't know, but she just seems a little bit off. When she saw him, she was just a little bit too hyped for me, and it seemed a little bit exaggerated. I don't know if it's because of the cameras or maybe she's nervous. Even the kiss was awkward, and that made me feel very uncomfortable watching it all happen. So then we see my favorite couple so far, Taylor and Daniel. I just love seeing the two of them together. And Taylor shares that over the years, she's felt like love isn't going to find her because she's seen it happen for so many people around her, and it just hasn't happened for her. And I could very well understand what she means like that, but she's a perfect example of timing. Sometimes things haven't happened yet because it's just not your time, it's not your season. And I'm really hoping that this relationship works for Taylor and Daniel. Next, we see Madison and Alex on their date, and she gives him a bear to prove that she's interested in him. And Alex is apologizing to her if he may have came off some type of way to her, and she's reassuring him that she is not, I guess, that damaged person from her past based on what she's been through. And I don't know, I think for me it's too soon to tell. I still think that they should pause on their relationship. But that's just my opinion. So Meg is in the ladies' quarters and she's talking about how confused Mason is, and she's saying that she isn't confused. Girl, how many times do I have to tell you that this man is not interested in you? She brings it up to him as she goes on her date, and she says that he is into her. Meg, he's lying to you. He is not interested in you. These two are talking about things that make absolutely no sense. All they talk about is the weirdest things on the planet and sex. Next, we see Lauren and David the a-hole on their date. And again, he brings up how old she is. Lauren, how many times does this man have to tell you that you're old? How many times does he have to keep telling you that this is unattractive to him for you to realize that he doesn't respect you? He keeps saying he's joking about it, annoys me even more. So she likes it. Happy for her. She brings up kids, and again he avoids the question. He doesn't see himself having a future with you, so Lauren, this is not your match. But somehow, somewhere in her head, she's like, oh my god, we're a match made in heaven. How? He is barely giving you anything, Lauren. He tells her that he can see himself proposing to her, and she's just blushing away. Lauren, open your eyes. We now see him on his date with Molly, and she says that she isn't dating anyone else. He tells her that they're not into all that emotional stuff and they're just having fun, aka he just wants to get in your pants, Molly. They're talking about what their work schedules look like, and he says he likes when a girl has her own stuff going on and she doesn't have to depend on him for entertainment. So I kind of have a feeling that he will pick Molly, because to him Lauren may be a little bit more stable, or she might be a little bit too boring for him. So they have a conversation about politics and sexuality when it concerns children, and David says he just wants for his children to be comfortable sharing anything with him. They also share the similarities about both of their moms being stay-at-home moms. And I say, you know what, do what works for you. If that works for you and him, then let it be. If the woman wants to work, she should work. If the guy wants to stay home and be the stay-at-home dad, if that works for you, good for you. Y'all, while I'm watching this scene, I'm seeing Molly and her dirty shoes on the couch. Girl, put your feet down. Next, we see the ladies in the quarters room, and they decide to build a fort. And I really like to see how they're getting along with each other so far. So it's Taylor, Madison, Molly, Sarah, Lauren, and Meg. So they get underneath the fort, and Sarah says, guys, let's share secrets. Who's your number one? So Meg asks Molly, well, did he say you're his number one? Implying that they kind of all know that she's seeing David, obviously, because she's been blabbing her mouth so much and wants everybody to know that she's seeing David. So she says yes, he did, and Meg is like, oh my god, I'm so happy for you. Are you going to be a fiance? And Molly says, well, I really feel like he will, but I don't want to jinx it. Baby, we see Lauren turning red, and she just run out of there. She's like, oh, I'm getting claustrophobic in that tent. You're right. We both know you're bothered because Molly just cannot stop talking about her connection with David. Then we see Devin and Victoria. Victoria is gracing our screen, and I'm not complaining. She's talking about how she envisions her life with him, and she sees herself being pregnant and having a baby on her hip, and he's coaching varsity. So he's asking her what makes him different from the other guys that she's dated. And I don't know if they just don't show it, but she doesn't say anything else other than him being so amazing. Now, Victoria, I think you're a fabulous woman. I think you're really beautiful. I think you're, that girl. But I don't think Devin is your match. So Devin kind of feels like they need to go deeper with their conversations, because he doesn't want to propose to her. He doesn't want to propose without knowing everything about her, and he doesn't think that she will accept a proposal if she doesn't know everything about him. So he kind of feels like she is holding something back from him, and he wants to know everything. But Devin, it doesn't matter how long. I get that y'all haven't been seeing each other for that long and the process is expedited, but no matter how long you're with someone, you're not going to know everything about a person, right? Next, we see Madison and Alex. Oh god, I am not excited about these two. She's telling him how much she's digging him and wouldn't mind it if it's just the two of them. So she's asking for them to be exclusive, and she pretty much tells him, he says, it's you and me. Y'all, if I hear Madison saying like one more time, she just keeps on saying like. Every 2 words she's saying like, I am going to lose my mind. She's sharing this story of what it's like when she's stressed out, and I just feel like she's dumping all of her trauma onto Alex, and he's now positioning himself in a way to save her. You need to back off and let Madison be. And Madison, you are not at the right place to be pouring into someone else, because I just don't feel like you're ready. This is my opinion. They continue talking about it, and Madison is asking this man to trust her and to trust that it will not affect their relationship. And in the same breath of telling him don't be scared, she tells him that she just goes into autopilot. Madison, that is disappearing. You are shutting down. Madison, I just feel like it's a little bit manipulative to give a mouthful of what you've been through and then to tell this man, well, if me having a rough life is too much for you, then I'm not the person for you. I don't think that's right to say, because you're telling him all of those things and then he's now positioning himself to be like Superman, and then you're telling him, oh, if that's too much for you, then don't pick me. And for me, it's not even about having a tough life, because sometimes these are things that we cannot avoid. It just happens to us. But it's the fact that it appears that you are still struggling with all of those things. You speak of them as if it's still things that are happening presently in your life. And for me, it sounds different. It doesn't sound like she is healing, because like I said in my previous video, healing is a continuous process. But it's one thing to be working on a situation, and it's another thing to know that this is something that I need help with, and leaving it at that and saying, listen, I need help and I'm working on it. And I just have not really heard Madison say that she's getting help or she's seeing someone because of all of those traumatic things that she's been through. Maybe I missed it, or I just did not hear her saying it, or maybe they just didn't show that part. But I really feel like that is concerning when it comes to the relationship with Alex. Then we see Mr. Ick, aka Mason, and he's on a date with Meg. They're talking about, again, nothing that makes any kind of sense, besides Mason just lying through his teeth about how interested he is in Meg. Baby, tell me why she tells him, miss you. That man said bye. Meg, you're really wondering why he isn't saying it back to you? Meg is so delusional at this point, it's becoming alarming. Now we see he's on a date with Madison, and she's pretty much bringing up his and Meg's connection, and she's saying, well, I have another connection, but Meg is all in for you. She doesn't say her name, but we know she's talking about Meg, and how the difference with her other connection is that Madison, always gets reassurance from her other connection. So now Mr. Ick starts telling her how much he wants her, how much he doesn't want to give up on their relationship. He sees them going somewhere. Child. Meanwhile, Meg is in the women's quarters just yapping away about how much Mason is into her. This is a mess. And so this is what happened in episode 3. On to episode 4, and it's called So Your Girlfriend Has a Boyfriend. Interesting. So this episode starts with Sarah and Ben on the date. We haven't seen too much of these two, and it's a good reason why. And they became official. So they start up a conversation, and she's asking him about politics. She brings up the situation with George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, and she asks him how he feels about it. Y'all, that man said, oh, well, I stay out of those things. And I'm just like, oh, okay, Ben. In case you didn't know, staying out of it means you don't care what happens to black people. For me, it's just simple principles in life. If you see something happening and it's wrong, and you say nothing about it, because you're deciding to mind your business, then you are part of the problem. And I just want to applaud Sarah for calling him out about that and for making it clear that what happened to George Floyd was wrong. And not only was it wrong, it's important to have a voice on basic human rights and equality, no matter what you look like. And it's one thing to be uneducated about that topic, but it's another thing to be ignorant too, because the Black Lives Matter movement was such a big thing, and I just don't see how he doesn't know anything about it. He's choosing to not make it his business, and it says a lot about him. So Ben, I don't want to hear your stupid excuses. In fact, I don't want to hear anything that comes out of your mouth. Okay? And like Sarah said, on that topic, all I'm going to say is it's basic morals and values, and the partner shouldn't have to show you those things. Wrong is wrong, right is right. If it's wrong, it doesn't matter what race or whatever skin tone that person is in. Wrong is wrong and right is right. And that's all I'm going to say about that. There were so many scenes that were uninteresting to me, and so I skipped past many things, and I am back on a scene with Madison and Alex, and the more I listen to Madison, the more tired I get. She's pretty much telling Alex that he has been her number one, and she has another connection, but she only sees the other guy as a friend, and she's talking about Mr. Eek, aka Mason. So he asked her to be his girlfriend, and she says yes. So they're telling each other who they've been dating, and she reveals that her other connection is Mason, and she pulls a Chris Brown. She tells that man, Alex, he ain't you. Y'all. So Alex goes back into the men's quarter, and he's telling some of the guys that he has a girlfriend, and that his girlfriend now has to break up with this other guy. And among the guys that he's saying that to, Mason is sitting with them, and he's laughing, and I'm like, oh my god, Mason, they're talking about you. I don't know, that was just really funny to me. Little does he know that Alex is referring to him. Next we see Devin, and let me tell you, I cried for that scene. I got really emotional when he started sharing his story of his back injury with Brittany, and sharing how he abused medication because of all of the pain that he was feeling. And he is crying, she's sobbing, I'm sobbing, everybody's sobbing as he's talking about it. So he tells her that he has felt shame throughout the years about that situation, and she's reassuring him and telling him that it's okay, we've all been through some things in our life, and that doesn't determine who we are once we learn from that situation. And so she now decides to open up to him and to tell him about something that is for her very, very sensitive, and it's her sexuality. So she tells him that she has been with women in her past, and she's specifically sharing a story of one woman who saw the two of them being married, and she did not see herself being that serious with the woman, or seeing herself being married to a woman. When she envisions her life, she sees herself being married to a man. So Devin starts asking her questions, and I guess wanting more clarity on, what that means. And he asks her if she's still interested in women, and Brittany says she thinks that people are beautiful altogether. Now, I don't think that's the answer Devin wanted to hear, and you could just see it on his face that he just looks so disappointed hearing her saying that. And he's telling her that it doesn't change how he feels about her, but you could clearly tell that he's struggling even to find the words to tell her how he's feeling. She also picks up on that and she's quite disappointed by his response, but he's telling her that he just needs to process it. This was a lot for him. And Devin, it's also okay to just let her know, like, hey, that's not my thing. That's not something that I feel comfortable with. And that's okay. Then we see him, Devin, on his date with Virginia, and he's telling her the whole story. Now, I already heard the story, so I just skipped past that little part, and they're talking about faith and how he felt like God came through for him, and kudos to that. And they're talking about praying together, but for me, this just gave me so much anxiety hearing these couples talking about praying together, especially on Love is Blind, because we know and we saw what happened with Tyler, aka Lila. We know what happened with him and Ashley, and I'm just gonna leave that there. Next up, Lord have mercy, we see David, aka Mr. A-Hole. And all I have for you, David, is disgusting. The more you talk, the more I'm disgusted. I just cannot wait for this little love triangle to be over, because David is not the prize. So Molly is in the women's quarter and she's doing her usual blabbing about how much she's the one. And so Lauren is sitting with Sarah and she's now telling Sarah that she is also seeing David and she just needs some space from Molly, because Molly is just going on and on and on and on about David, and now she's wondering so many things. Does Molly know about the connection that she has with David too? Is he manipulating them? Is Molly lying? She's wondering who is more delusional, she or Lauren. Girl, I don't know. That's a really, really good question. And Lauren, David is definitely having his cake and eating his pie. So I'm glad that she's starting to open up her eyes. And so we see Molly, she's sitting in Virginia and she's kind of figuring out that the other girl is Lauren, and she's like, well, I told Lauren that I was seeing David, so I wonder why she didn't tell me. And so she tells Virginia that David is going to break up with Lauren, and she feels bad. She says it's so loud that Lauren hears. She says she's feeling bad. Molly, you lie. You love it. You don't feel bad at all. So then we see Lauren, she's going on her date with David. And let me tell you, she walked into that room and she's like, let's just get straight to it. David, your little girlfriend Molly, she's telling everyone that you're going to break up with me. So first of all, I need to know if that's true. And if it's true, if you really feel that way, then why am I here? Yes, Lauren, give him all that energy. Shred him to pieces. It's about time you stood up for yourself. David will open his mouth and say, oh, see, that's what I didn't want, the girl drama. No, David, it's not girl drama. It's you being you, a capital A. That's all it is. I don't even know why she's telling him that he's her number one, because immediately as she says that, he's like, oh, well, I wish we talked about this before. Whew, a mess. And this is where the episode ends, and I'm guessing that we're going to get more details in episode 5. I think that's where the drama is going to be at its peak, or where it's going to begin. And so guys, let's talk about it so far. What did you think of episode 3 and 4? What was your favorite moment? What is your opinion on Devin and Brittany? Do you think Alex should back out of his relationship with Madison? And what do you think of David? Let's talk about it. I'm looking forward to hearing all about it, guys. And I just want to thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. And as always, don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe now. Subscribe today. And if you missed my previous videos, you can click the link in my description box to get more content. I'll see you guys next time with episodes 5 and 6. Bye.